I just want to talk about big data for a while, if I can, because that's changed engineering massively, I would imagine, and is doing so year on year on year. Rob, you were data acquisition engineer at Jordan back in, well, I think 2001, I think, when fancy name, but how much more data do you acquire on a daily basis than you did, say, 16, 17 years ago at Jordan now?
From when I first started, we per lap we probably get about 100 times more data, but that's the problem with big data, isn't it? I think that the key issue with big data is not collecting the data, because we can do that now, and we've all proved that in all sorts of engineering walks of life we can collect it, and we can collect absolutely more than we can analyze and use to good intent. And I think that's, it's a key challenge for people like me within the teams, to try to harvest that data and use it to find those extra few milliseconds on the race car.
Gemma, the big teams have huge individual teams studying all aspects of the car. You were at Manor as their tyre data analysis engineer. I would imagine it was just you on your own trying to struggle with that.
Correct. But that's the beauty of being in a small team. You are, it all relies on you for that. It didn't matter what it was to do with tyres, whether it was wind tunnel tyres or the drivers at the track. It was me that they had to ask. And as an engineer, particularly a young engineer, that was fantastic.
And from a driver's perspective, Jenson, once upon a time, you could blame all sorts of things on the car. By the end of your career, the car started blaming you because the telemetry was there for all to see. There's nowhere to hide now as a driver.
No, there isn't, I think. But I don't think it was the teams blaming the drivers. I think it all goes towards the tyre manufacturer now. That's, all the complaints are always aimed at the tyre manufacturer, for good reason. But I don't know what tyres you guys are on. But anyway, but no, there is a lot of data, and it's in some ways it's good because you can learn a lot from your teammate. You can learn a lot as a young driver because you can see what the other guy's doing on track. You've got simulators, you've got everything. A lot less testing than you used to have, though. Real proper testing. For me, when I started in F1 back in 2000, we didn't have any simulators. We didn't have really so much in-depth data to look at. So a lot of the time you're on your own, going out there and finding your feet, which was fantastic and really, really good. But it made it tough for new guys coming in, because in Formula One, if you don't have a good first season, you're out, and that's it. Game over, your career's over. You can go endurance racing, but back then that wasn't that big either. Whereas now, there's a lot more data for them to look at. There's a lot more that they can learn from a teammate, and they go out and they're pretty much on it straight away. So that has definitely changed. Do I prefer it? No, because I think it's good for drivers to go out there and find their feet themselves and become the driver that they should be.
You see, I'm with Jenson on that one. Stick to the past. It used to work in the past.
It's because we're old.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you're older than me, but we all look back and say it was better then. But with new technologies and new direction, as long as we can control it and it doesn't get out of hand, I think Formula One will be in a good place. And with Ross Brawn's leadership of direction of where the cars will be, I think it's going to help a lot.
I just wonder if there's too much reliance from within sport in general, and not just Formula One, but engineering in all aspects of sport these days, on the engineering side, to basically coach too much from the sidelines rather than let sports stars find their feet. And I wondered what Rob and Gemma thought about that one, because you're the engineers up here, you see.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it change massively over 21 years in Formula One. I think when I first started, it's exactly as Jenson just said. The driver was able to do much more on his own, and I think what we've kind of created a monster as well, because you see the young guys coming through, and they expect so much more, to the point where they expect way too much from the engineers, and they don't actually understand where their own space is. And that's certainly, what all the teams have got going on with young drivers. They don't actually understand the bounds and the responsibilities of their job, and they think that engineers can do almost everything for them, and we can't. We're not the driver at the end of the day, and we're certainly not magicians. They quite often get mixed up between engineering and magic. And I'm not talking about Lance Stroll or Sergei Sorokin.
fine young men they are, hampered by the lack of basic engineering that works on their car.
As fine young men as they are, yeah.
See, look, everyone's now on your side, Rob, because we're talking to a bunch of engineers here today. How could you possibly slag off the Williams car? Rob?
Because he's rubbish.
You see, straight from the horse's mouth on that one. Gemma, do we wave a magic wand as mere mortals at the feet of engineers and say, please help us out too often?
No. I think as an engineer, you can never have too much data. One of the things I learned with being with a smaller team such as Manor, you can have all the data you want, but we didn't have the people to analyse the data. And actually, you see the smaller teams who are actually using the data more efficiently, simply because they haven't got the man or woman power to extract the value of the data. So I think have as much data as you want, but I think that engineers need to have a good understanding of what data is important and which data isn't.
Clever engineering, Karen. Keeping it simple, stupid, seems to be the way forward.
Yeah, that's a very traditional saying, but it's absolutely true. And the more you complicate things, the more hard it becomes for everybody. And Gemma's absolutely right. It's knowing exactly what you need, picking out what you need. And in any engineering environment, it's prioritising. You prioritise the things that are absolutely important. And I know the teams today, you've all got your race strategies, haven't you? But you will be having race strategies which work on prioritising things like reliability, because you have to be in every single race to win it, don't you? So you'll be working out your engineering priorities that suit your team, and that's where the skill of the engineering team comes in, is getting the right priorities, sticking with them and agreeing with them as a team, and then going for that strategy.